Hey, welcome to Half the Battle, and welcome back, my friends, to main character May.
Well, this was inevitable. We finally have to talk about the character. And today, we ask the question, how did a real-life person end up as a character in G.I. Joe anyway?
Well, let me set the scene.
The year was 1985 and wrestling was hot. The Rock and Wrestling Connection, a joint venture between the World Wrestling Federation and MTV, was in full swing. Having started the previous year with the Brawl to End It All, followed up in 85 with the War to Settle the Score. These were two wrestling events that had one match each shown on MTV. The Rock and Wrestling Connection culminated in the first ever WrestleMania, which featured the hottest wrestlers of the time as well as stars such as Cyndi Lauper.
So yeah, wrestling had become very popular.
And you know what Hasbro likes to do more than anything else, jump on a profitable bandwagon. So they wanted a wrestler in their G.I. Joe line.
But which one?
Well, since he was gonna be on the Joe team, they needed a face, i.e. a wrestler who portrayed a good guy, and preferably a military-themed one, and also he'd have to have some star power.
That sort of narrowed it down.
Since outside of Sergeant Slaughter, the only other guy I can think of from the time is Corporal Kirshner, and he didn't really have set star power. So Hasbro got in touch with Robert Remus, aka Sergeant Slaughter, who was very keen to get involved.
There was, however, a problem. Well, a couple of problems, really.
All called Vincent Kennedy McMahon, the owner of the World Wrestling Federation, the place Slaughter was working at in 1985. The first problem was that the WWF had a deal with LJN Toys at the time to produce action figures of their wrestlers.
Well, I say action figures.
They didn't actually have any articulation, but were made of a hard rubber, so they could sorta bend? I guess they qualify on a technicality. Anyway, with that deal in place, it would be difficult for another toy company to make an action figure of a WWF guy. The second problem was that Vince McMahon was, and is to this day, a greedy man. In this case, that meant that whenever a wrestler under contract with him took an outside deal, like to appear in a commercial for example, Vince would want a piece of the pie.
Slaughter, understandably, was less than happy about this.
So, he walked out of the World Wrestling Federation and went to the AWA, or American Wrestling Association, a rival but far smaller wrestling organization, where they didn't mind if he took the G.I. Joe deal. In fact, they were probably thrilled by the cross-promotion benefits. He'd get paid less by the AWA, but would end up with more money overall, now that he didn't have to split his Hasbro payouts with Vince. And so, a happy working relationship was born.
For 4 years.
Yeah, ever notice how every Slaughter G.I. Joe figure came out between 1985 and 1989?
Well, there are reasons for that.
You see, in 1990, several different things happened. For one thing, Slaughter wanted to go back to the WWF. Not surprising, since they were red hot at the time. 1990 was when Hogan Warrior happened at WrestleMania VI. So there was more money to be had, and Slaughter was worth more thanks to the popularity of G.I. Joe.
For another thing,
LJN no longer had the license to make WWF toys. Instead, Hasbro was starting production of a line of action figures. Now, you would think this would be a match made in heaven, no pun intended, for Slaughter, now that the WWF and Hasbro were partners.
And it would have been, except for one factor.
Vince frickin' McMahon. Not only is he greedy, but he's also a petty man who holds a grudge.
Now, this next bit is pure speculation on my part, but it matches with everything I know about Vince.
He was happy to take Slaughter back, but only as a heel, i.e. a bad guy wrestler. I'm willing to bet his motivation for this was something like, "Oh, so you're a real American hero, are ya? We'll see about that, pal. Here, get this Iraqi flag round you."
Oh yeah, another thing happened in 1990.
The Iraqi invasion of Kuwait, something a coalition of countries led by the USA would have to deal with. And in one of the dumbest moves in the history of professional wrestling, Vince decided to make it a storyline. Yes, profiting of a real war. And thus, Iraqi sympathizer Sergeant Slaughter was born.
Saddam Hussein! He conquered Kuwait! You should be saluting the Iraqi flag!
This guy is anything but a great American.
And it's my firm belief Vince did this specifically, or at least partially, to get back at Slaughter and Hasbro. As an aside, we only got to see WWF wrestling in Belgium at the time, so no WCW or AWA or anything, though we knew Slaughter was a wrestler. So when he finally did show up in the WWF, like that...
You should be saluting the Iraqi flag!
Well, I'll let Tom Holland show you my reaction.
With that, there was no way there'd be a new deal between the Sarge and Hasbro given what the G.I. Joe character was all about. They would, however, end up making another Sergeant Slaughter action figure in 1992, but not as part of the G.I. Joe line, but rather as part of the WWF line. Gee, that must have stung a little. Oh, by 1992, the whole Iraq thing had been dropped and he was a face again.
I want my country back!
But it was too little too late.
Yeah, the Iraqi sympathizer storyline didn't sit well with anybody, including wrestling fans, and was one of the factors contributing to the decline of the WWF's popularity.
How much of a decline?
Well, WrestleMania VI had about 67,000 people in attendance. WrestleMania VII, with the main event being Hulk Hogan vs. Sergeant Slaughter, had 16,000. In fact, they had to move the event to a smaller stadium, as they had initially booked the LA Memorial Coliseum, which could accommodate 100,000 people. Oh, and to this day, the WWF, now WWE, will claim it's because they got bomb threats because of the whole Iraq thing.
The truth of the matter is, people just weren't buying tickets. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm sure that the Sarge did get death threats. I mean, nowadays people send them if their video game comes out a few weeks late. And there are unhinged assholes in any decade, but I'm saying that wasn't the reason why the venue was changed.
On pay-per-view TV, the numbers were less dramatic, but still significant, with WrestleMania VI having 560,000 buys, while 7 only at 400,000. Of course, you can't pin this all on Slaughter, as the WWF was mired in steroid and sex scandals, Hulk Hogan was becoming less popular, and there was a drop in quality of the product in general. To say nothing of the gobbledygooker. The WWF wouldn't be as white-hot as it had been in 1990 until the Attitude Era that started in 1998.
As for Slaughter,
he eventually retired from wrestling, but remained employed by the WWE as a legend and brand ambassador. He makes the occasional convention appearances, both G.I. Joe and wrestling ones, and looks back fondly on his time as a Joe. Less fondly on his time as a heel, I imagine. And that about wraps it up when it comes to Sergeant Slaughter, the wrestler.
Oh, right, that. Yeah, he wasn't a real sergeant.
I know that sounds obvious. I mean, Mark Calloway isn't a real zombie or even a real Undertaker. Roddy Piper wasn't really Scottish, and the Red Rooster wasn't a giant cock, but in the Sarge's case, it wasn't as clear-cut, as he maintained for decades that he had been a real Marine drill sergeant. In fact, the truth didn't come out until a few years ago.
Now yes, stolen valor or pretending to be in the military while you're not is a scummy thing.
But he was playing a character for most of it, and keeping that kayfabe up for 30 years, well, I can't help but be a little impressed.
If you have a different opinion, especially if you are in the military or have been, well, that's perfectly valid, of course.
To round off this part of main character May, let's go back to the toys for a quick comparison between them and the wrestler. Yeah, there are one or two differences. The wrestler never had a six-pack or those kind of muscles.
Now, don't get me wrong, he was still impressive, and even today, at age 72, I'm sure he could still kick my ass.
But the Joe version was a very idealized form. See also the fridge. But hey, at least they kept that magnificent chin. The first figure had him in his wrestler outfit, with the G.I. Joe logo added, though Slaughter would add that to his outfit too. The later two versions looked more military, with the main difference with the wrestler being a full set of hair. Least said about the Slaughter's Marauders version, the better.
Actually, you know what? Let's talk about Slaughter's Marauder Sergeant Slaughter. And hey, this whole video has been about wrestling, so I figure we should get some wrestling reviewers in. Take it away, lads!
Steve!
Jay!
From OSW Review, fancy seeing you on Half the Battle. Timber Joes asks us, what bar is Slaughter Marauders Sergeant Slaughter?
Well, Jay, Slaughter Marauders Sergeant Slaughter is wearing a sexy summer version of his army gear, featuring matching electric blue shades and tank top, marsh green bottom fatigues, brown knee pads, and black boots. He is.
Woo. Looking forward to this one.
Okay, at Wolf Lover Mike says he is a Windows XP default wallpaper.
Amazing. Fantastic. Can of Coke to user.
At the Slim James
Do, 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 do.
says he is fruit by the foot king size.
Oh.
It looks amazing, doesn't it, actually?
What?
I can only imagine how much sugar is in that.
What is that? Is that some kind of measuring tape, but it's edible?
Pretty much, I think we have them over here and they're called fruit winders.
Ah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Yeah, I love
and,
it.
And over here, they're made by Kellogg's.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're really, really nice. At Spade Racing, Sour Punch Bites Blue Raspberry flavor.
What is that? That's not edible.
That looks like something that I would have absolutely milled out of it when I was about 7 years of age. I don't think I could
wow.
cope with this now.
It looks like something you'd like if you were to tear up your carpet, line up from the 80s. This is the rough shag of what bar?
At Phil C 137 says he is a box of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cereal.
Oh, get in. Holy shit. You guys are so spoiled.
We did not have this over here. Look at that.
You can taste the E numbers.
Over here, we had fucking cornflakes and porridge growing up. New Fee Timmy or New Fi Timmy, and he says Sergeant Slaughter is a pack of queso cheese ruffles.
Oh, queso
Yeah.
meaning
I'm gonna guess cheese.
cheesy cheese ruffles. Man, yeah, I'd mill them out of it.
Yeah,
they look
absolutely. Now, the only thing that you could do to make it even better is to add a little bit of onion, and then you have cheese and onion,
Great. Oh, get in.
and then you'd fit right at home in Ireland.
Potato man.
Next up, Gaz the Kitman says he is a packet of Castle Golf teas.
Ooh, he's a little tease, isn't he?
Can't eat them, but they're still perfect for Sergeant Slaughter.
Very good, very good.
Next up, Gaz the Kitman.
A twofer.
A two for Jay. He says he is a packet of Jolly Rancher hard candy fruit and sour sweets.
Oh,
They look pretty nice.
I love the apple. That's my favorite one there. You can see it's a big smacker there. Getting ready for it. Or just
Super,
wincing in
super
pain
sour.
from how sour it is. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm all
totally.
in.
And playing a Stormer, Jay, with the third one.
Oh my god.
And my personal favourite of his three, Gas the Kitman is back. He says Sergeant Slaughter is a packet of Polo mints. The mint with the hole.
Oh, wow. These were so big in the early to mid 90s.
Like 80s
Yeah,
and
yeah.
90s, yeah.
It's like the bum bag, but for Ireland.
Polo and, do you remember, Jay, silver mints?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Did they just died off with Oasis, did they?
Pretty much, actually, yeah. At Fizz versus the World,
Yeah.
a Lost Episodes expansion pack for Wolfenstein 3D. Look at this color here.
Oh, wow.
It's perfect,
Wow.
isn't it? It's fucking great.
Well done, sir.
I absolutely love it.
Yeah, I love it.
Can of Coke, mate.
That's some deep insider iceberg knowledge there, mate.
Deep insider. You can't take me anywhere, Jay. At Brett Wrong,
Doesn't want to be right.
a packet of Bugler pipe tobacco made in the USA.
Oh.
Perfect, because it even fits the theme
Pipe
as well.
tobacco.
Pipe tobacco.
Oh, wow. Yes. Super clever there. I love it, mate.
It's really good. At Anthony W. Rosa, we with a What Smokes, Jay.
I love it. I love what smokes.
Yes, he is 2 packets, both the green and the blue, of Natural American Spirit cigarettes. Beautiful, mate.
Oh, you smoke them on peace pipe.
Me smoking my peace pipe, exactly.
That looks amazing. I love the idea of branding, cigarettes, death sticks basically, and Native Americans, because they were usually kind of more, home with the land and environmentalism and that kind of stuff. No, cigarettes. Amazing.
Alex on Trent, a Fry's peppermint cream and Fry's chocolate cream.
They're another kind of relic from the past.
Yeah, totally.
Oh, much like Sergeant Slaughter.
Yeah, exactly. Works perfectly. And Jay, that's it.
Excellent.
That is the last of our what bars
Yeah.
for Slaughter's Marauders Sergeant Slaughter. Man, say that 5 times quickly. Holy shit.
Excellent. So, can of Coke to the winners there, and for the rest of you who didn't get picked, you're a loser.
Killing my lungs, Jay.
Steve, you need to get those Native American cigarettes into you. Just get it deep into the lungs.
Oh yeah, that's good tobacco.
All right. Cheers for having us on, Timmer.
It was a pleasure, mate.
So it's a goodbye from V1.
Take a boo.
And myself, Jay Hunter. And remember, a winner is you.
A huge thanks to Jay and V1 for doing this. They rock!
Lastly, let's compare the Hasbro WWF figure with the G.I. Joe ones. It's kinda funny, the WWF figure, while being more cartoony, actually has a more realistic looking body. And that was Sergeant Slaughter the Wrestler. Tune in next week when we talk about the G.I. Joe character in the file cards, comic and cartoon.
Well, I'll see you next time, everybody. And hey, why not like, share, and subscribe if that's your thing? In case you're wondering how I got the OSW lads to do this, well, I'd like to say it went a little like this.
I've been asking for it for years. You're gonna give me what I want. Now, Hunter, give me what I want.
But it was more like this.
I wanna.
Okay, the truth is I simply asked them and gave them like a year of prep time. And they were kind enough to oblige.